went to school in a small town. The high school building was extremely old. My grandparents and parents went to the same building as high schoolers, and many generations between them attended school in the same brick building located in a corner of the small town. Back in 1958, there was a fire in the building, which started in the basement near a stairwell. It happened close to the end of the school day and ultimately caused quite a bit of damage and claimed the lives of a total of 5 students. Many more were treated for smoke inhalation and minor burns. Through community donations and bake sale proceeds, the damage was able to be repaired, and the school opened back up fully about 2 months later. By the time I entered high school in 2000, there had of course been some renovations done here and there to the school, but it still had a vintage feel. I was in drama club my sophomore and senior years, and this particular story takes place while we were preparing for the spring play my senior year. It was only a few days into play practices, and sets were just being started. Not only was I in the play, I was also the head of drama club, so I had the responsibility of making sure the sets, lights, and costumes were being worked out and running on track. We were all gathered in the auditorium, and I was talking with the set crew. They were ready to paint, and I was going to have to run down the basement to get a few cans of paint and the paint brushes. Being the head of drama department meant that I had a special privilege to use the key to the storage areas in the basement. I briefly gave a few directions for those who were standing around waiting for an assignment before heading down the basement stairs. I wasn't fond of basements. In fact, I avoided them when I could. Our house had one, and I refused to go down there unless I absolutely had to. I was on a mission to get down there, grab the paint and brushes, and grab a few other things that people requested, and get out as quickly as possible. I was halfway down the stairs when I heard footsteps behind me. I didn't know if I should stop and look, or just keep going and hope for the best. I chose to keep going, hoping I was psyching myself out. As I took my last step into the basement, the footsteps stopped behind me. I turned around, half expecting to see someone, but there wasn't anyone there. I started walking again towards the supply room for the drama and art departments, and the footsteps started up behind me again. Quickly turning around, they stopped, and again, no one was there. I quickened my pace, already feeling uncomfortable. I quickly entered the supply room and shut the door behind me, making sure it locked. I flicked all the lights on and quickly got to work picking up everything I needed. Not allowed to bring help with me, I was going to have to get creative when loading items up. As I was digging around in the costume area, I found a big red reusable type bag and grabbed it to fill up. I hit my head on the shelf while standing up when there was a loud knock on the door. This was concerning because it was after school hours and very few people had access to this area. Figuring and hoping it was just the janitor, or maybe a coach coming to retrieve extra sports gear next door, I slowly started opening the door. There was no one in sight. I didn't hear any movement down the hallway either. Quickly closing the door and locking it once again, I rushed over to finish throwing paint supplies and costume items in the bag. I heard a noise coming from the other side of the giant shelves, which was the art side of the room. I tried to ignore it and keep going, but then I heard whispering. The whispering made the hair on the back of my neck stand up. Now I knew I wasn't alone, and I didn't know how someone got in with me. I quietly walked over to the edge of the giant shelving unit and peered around. There, in the corner of the art supply area, were 2 girls about my age. The first thing I noticed was their clothes. I had never seen girls dressed like that in this school, or anywhere for that matter. They were wearing long red and green dresses with full skirts that came down past their knees, and black dress shoes. The dresses had decorative lace up top, and one of them was wearing their hair in a high ponytail, the other was wearing hers down. I looked away for a split second, turned back, and they were gone. There was only one way out of the room, and they would have had to pass me to get out. I walked to the far back of the art side, and there was no sign of anyone having been there. By this point, I just wanted out of there, so I grabbed the big red bag, threw a few more things in it, turned the lights off, and locked the door behind me. As I started to walk towards the staircase, I heard a girl yell, "Help us!" The yell was coming from near the staircase, so I started running the best I could with the big bag of items on my shoulder. But when I got to the staircase, there was no one around. I ran the rest of the way back to the auditorium. I was so creeped out and had an uneasy feeling about the entire thing. The rest of practice, I had trouble focusing, and later that night, I lay awake all night wondering if I had seen the ghost of 2 of the victims of the fire. Thank you for sharing your story. That must have been so creepy, especially being isolated in a basement area that not many other people have access to. If you have a paranormal story, email it to the address in the description below. Please like the video and subscribe if you haven't. We can bust through the 100s before Christmas. I know we can. And with that, see you tomorrow, friends.